John Wayne, one of the most legendary stars in Hollywood, spent decades building a strong, tough, and heroic image on screen. But behind the fame, his real life was filled with personal struggles, emotional moments, and secrets that stayed hidden for many years. When he passed away in 1979, the grand Newport Beach mansion where he had lived was sealed off immediately. No one was allowed in. Every photograph, personal letter, and item from his life was locked away from the public. For more than 30 years, no one really knew what was inside. It wasn't until 2011 that the doors were finally opened, and what was discovered shocked many people. There were rare movie props, deeply personal letters, and even a final will that caused conflict among his family members. All of it told a deeper story about a man who had become more than just a film actor. He had become a symbol of American strength, but also someone who carried pain, pressure, and dreams that not everyone knew about. John Wayne was actually born with the name Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907, in Winterset, Iowa. From the moment he came into the world, people noticed there was something special about him. He weighed 13 pounds at birth, which was so unusual that the local newspaper wrote about it. Even as a small child, his life was not easy. At just 3 years old, he almost drowned when he fell into an icy creek. A stranger happened to be walking by and saw the child in danger. That stranger jumped in and saved him. This early experience became a sign of how much resilience and strength Wayne would need and would show throughout his life. His name was changed early in his childhood. After his parents had another son, they decided to name the new baby Robert, so Marion's middle name was changed to Mitchell. That might seem like a small thing, but it hinted that bigger changes were ahead in his life, including the complete reinvention of his name and public image. In 1914, when Marion was still very young, the family moved to Glendale, California, because his father's business had failed. That move changed everything. In Glendale, Marion became known as Duke. The name didn't come from him trying to act tough or famous, it actually came from his pet dog, an Airedale Terrier, also named Duke. The two were always seen together, and the local firemen started calling the pair Big Duke and Little Duke. Marion liked the nickname, and it stuck with him for the rest of his life. Marion, now called Duke by most people, loved sports, especially football. In 1925, he earned a football scholarship to the University of Southern California, USC. He was studying pre-law and joined the Sigma Chi fraternity. But his dreams of becoming a football star were suddenly destroyed when he injured his shoulder while body surfing. That injury forced him to give up the scholarship and his dream of playing professionally. At the time, he was devastated. He thought his future had been ruined. But that moment, which seemed like a loss, was actually the beginning of something much greater. In 1927, after leaving his football ambitions behind, he found a job at Fox Studios. He started working behind the scenes as a prop man, making only $35 a week. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it got him inside the world of filmmaking. His first time on screen was not even credited. He played a football player in the 1926 movie Brown of Harvard. Around this time, he met director John Ford, who saw potential in him. Ford became an important figure in Wayne's life and was the one who advised him to change his name to something more fitting for a film star. After thinking it over, they chose the name John Wayne. That name would soon become legendary. The early years of Wayne's acting career were extremely difficult. Between 1930 and 1939, he acted in more than 80 low-budget westerns. These were cheap, quickly made films where he often had to work long hours for little pay. Some movies were shot in just 2 days. During this time, he lived very simply. There were days when he only ate one meal, a can of beans warmed on a hot plate. By 1938, he was so discouraged by his lack of success that he thought seriously about quitting acting. But everything changed in 1939 when he got the lead role in Stagecoach. The movie became a major production, and Wayne's role as the Ringo Kid became iconic. However, the studio didn't want him at first. They preferred a more famous actor like Gary Cooper. But director John Ford believed in Wayne so much that he threatened to quit the project unless they cast him. Wayne's first scene in Stagecoach became unforgettable. The camera zoomed in on his face as he held a rifle. The shot lasted only a few seconds, but it took 27 takes to get it right because Wayne was so nervous. The film was a massive success, earning 7 Academy Award nominations and winning 2. Wayne was only paid $3,700 for his role, far less than what top actors were earning, but that movie changed his life forever. After that, John Wayne became known as the face of the American cowboy. He turned down many roles, including famous ones like The Maltese Falcon and High Noon, because he didn't want to damage the tough image he had worked so hard to create. That decision helped him become a lasting symbol of strength and masculinity in American culture. John Wayne and John Ford worked together for more than 5 decades, making 14 movies that influenced Hollywood forever. Their partnership started back in 1928 with a small uncredited role for Wayne, but it truly took off with Stagecoach. Ford was a tough director and didn't treat Wayne lightly. On the set of The Searchers in 1956, Ford made Wayne redo a simple scene, just picking up a gun 17 times in front of the whole crew. Wayne never complained. He believed Ford's tough style helped him act better. Although The Searchers wasn't nominated for any Oscars at the time, today it's considered one of the greatest movies ever made. Their last movie together was Donovan's Reef in 1963. Wayne wasn't sure about doing the film because he felt too old. Ford was also very sick and struggling with alcoholism. But Wayne convinced him to direct it. They filmed in Hawaii, often in unbearable heat of up to 100 degrees. Ford was so ill that he sometimes directed from a stretcher. Despite these challenges, they finished the movie, which turned out to be a light-hearted comedy, different from their usual serious westerns. Wayne's first Oscar nomination came in 1949 for the movie Sands of Iwo Jima. He played a strict Marine sergeant named John Stryker. At first, he didn't want the role because it seemed too similar to roles he had already done. The president of Republic Pictures personally convinced him, offering a huge payment of $250,000 plus a share of the profits. The filming was intense and dangerous. They used real flamethrowers and explosives. One blast knocked Wayne out cold for half an hour. He had to stop filming for 2 days to recover. They also used real combat footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima, which blended so well with the staged scenes that people thought it was all real. Wayne didn't win the Oscar. It went to Broderick Crawford for All the King's Men, a movie that Wayne had actually turned down because he thought the message was un-American. The loss hurt him, and he wouldn't be nominated again for 11 more years. His dream project, The Alamo, was released in 1960. Wayne had been trying to make that movie for 15 years. He even mortgaged his house, cars, and boat to help fund the $12 million production. He insisted on building a full-size replica of the Alamo in Texas. It took 2 years and over 1.5 million handmade adobe bricks. The filming included over 7,000 extras, 1,500 horses, and lasted 79 days in extreme heat, sometimes reaching 110 degrees. One extra was injured by a bayonet and needed 26 stitches. Wayne refused to take shortcuts. Although the movie was grand and earned 7 Oscar nominations, critics gave mixed reviews and it didn't make enough money to recover the costs. Wayne wasn't even nominated for Best Director, which deeply disappointed him. Still, the film left a powerful legacy in how Americans remember the Alamo story. In 1970, Wayne finally won an Oscar for True Grit, where he played Rooster Cogburn, a rough, one-eyed U.S. Marshal. Wayne almost didn't take the role because he had just had lung cancer surgery and wasn't sure if he could handle the physical demands. But he read the novel and realized the character was something special. They filmed in Colorado, where the high altitude and cold weather made it hard for him to breathe. He had to use an oxygen tank between scenes. At one point, his horse stumbled on a hill and almost threw him off. He tore a muscle in his shoulder but kept working. To play Rooster Cogburn, he gained weight and wore an eye patch, which made it difficult to see. He memorized the sets so he wouldn't bump into anything. His performance was different from anything he had done before, and audiences loved it. The movie earned over $31 million and became one of the biggest hits of his career. When he accepted his Oscar, he joked, "If I'd known this, I would have put that patch on 35 years earlier." He had the flu that night but refused to miss the ceremony. Some critics thought the Oscar was more for his long career than that specific role. Wayne admitted that too. Still, Rooster Cogburn became one of his most loved characters. Wayne's personal life was filled with drama. He was married 3 times. His first marriage was to Josephine Saenz in 1933. They had 4 children. But his rising fame kept him away from home, and in 1938, he started a passionate affair with actress Marlene Dietrich. He tried to fix his marriage by taking Josephine to Mexico in 1943, but it didn't work, and they divorced in 1945. His second marriage, to Esperanza Bauer in 1946, was stormy. Esperanza was a former actress from Mexico and became very jealous. She believed he was having an affair with co-star Gail Russell while filming Angel and the Bad Man. One night, after drinking too much and seeing him come home late, she tried to shoot him. Thankfully, no one was hurt. They divorced in 1954. Later that same year, he married Pilar Pallet. They had 3 children and stayed legally married until he died in 1979, although they separated in 1973. After that, Wayne lived with his secretary, Pat Stacey. His love affair with Marlene Dietrich had been no secret. It started in 1938 during the filming of 7 Sinners and lasted almost 10 years. Even while married to Josephine, Wayne spent nights at Dietrich's house. She loved him deeply and helped boost his career by using her influence to get him roles in films like The Spoilers and Pittsburgh. Even after they broke up in 1947, they remained close friends, and she always called him the love of her life. Another special friendship was with actress Maureen O'Hara. They starred in 5 movies together, including Rio Grande and the beloved The Quiet Man in 1952. Their chemistry was so strong on screen that fans believed they were a real couple. O'Hara once joked about how an old lady on the street called her Mrs. Wayne. His children even called her Aunt Maureen, showing how close she was to the family. There was so much more to John Wayne than the cowboy image the world knew. His journey was full of hard work, deep emotions, mistakes, and moments of greatness. And when his mansion was finally opened years after his death, it revealed the real man behind the legend, a man who had lived fully, loved deeply, and left a lasting impact on the world of film and on the people who knew him. John Wayne's life was full of drama, triumphs, and complicated relationships that have continued to capture the public's attention even decades after his death. One of the more tender parts of his story involves Maureen O'Hara, a strong-willed actress he worked with in several films. Years after Wayne passed away, O'Hara's grandson confirmed that the two shared a brief romance. But according to him, their strong personalities made it impossible for the relationship to last. Still, O'Hara remained loyal to Wayne, especially in his final years. When he was battling cancer, she stood by him and even played a major role in helping him receive a congressional medal, which honored his legacy. Her support showed how much respect and care she had for him, even if they weren't together romantically anymore. After Wayne's marriage to Pilar ended in separation, he found companionship with Pat Stacey, his secretary who was much younger than him. Despite their 34-year age difference, the two shared a deep connection. Pat not only became his partner but also his caregiver. She took care of him during his cancer treatments, handled his daily affairs, and provided emotional support. They lived together from 1973 until Wayne died in 1979. Their bond was so strong that after his death, Pat wrote a heartfelt book in 1983 called Duke, a love story. The book showed a softer, more emotional side of John Wayne that fans had never seen before. Pat never married after Wayne's death and dedicated her life to preserving his memory. She passed away in 1995. Wayne's struggle with cancer began in 1964 when he was 57 years old. The diagnosis of lung cancer wasn't entirely unexpected, considering he had smoked heavily for years, sometimes up to 6 packs a day. Doctors told him they needed to remove his entire left lung and 2 ribs if he was to survive. The surgery had only a 50% chance of success, but Wayne pulled through and lived for another 5 years without cancer. Rather than keeping his illness private, Wayne decided to go public with it. His advisors warned him this might damage his tough guy image and hurt his career, but Wayne didn't care. He wanted to use his experience to help others, and he even gave cancer a nickname, calling it the Big C to reduce the fear surrounding it. In 1965, just a year after his surgery, he appeared in a commercial for the American Cancer Society. He encouraged people to take cancer seriously and support research. Unfortunately, cancer returned in 1979, this time in his stomach. Wayne tried a new experimental vaccine in hopes of surviving, but it didn't work. Even as his health got worse, he continued to speak publicly about cancer. From his hospital bed, he recorded messages urging people to support cancer research. Just weeks before his death, he told the public, "They might find a cure for cancer without your help, but I wouldn't bet my life on it." His final film, The Shootist, came out in 1976 and was about a gunfighter dying of cancer. The story paralleled Wayne's own life, and at 68 years old, he struggled with poor health during filming. He often needed oxygen between scenes but insisted on doing his own stunts. In one scene, he had to fall repeatedly onto a hard floor, but he never complained. The movie was seen by fans as his goodbye. In fact, he even made a change to the script. Originally, his character was supposed to be shot in the back, but Wayne refused. "I've never shot a man in the back in any movie," he said, and demanded it be rewritten. The film earned $13.4 million and was a fitting tribute to his tough spirit. John Wayne passed away on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72 after a tough battle with stomach cancer. He died at the Acclaimed Medical Center. His death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and his many fans across the world. President Jimmy Carter described him as bigger than life and called him a true American hero. Thousands of people showed up at the hospital and outside his home to pay tribute. They left flowers, notes, and cowboy hats. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a memorial site, where people lit candles in his honor. Although his funeral was private, a public memorial was later broadcast on TV, and millions of people watched. Even though Wayne never served in the military, the U.S. Naval Academy made him an honorary member of their class of 1979. That same year, Orange County's airport was renamed John Wayne Airport to honor his legacy. In 1985, Wayne's family took things a step further and created the John Wayne Cancer Foundation. The goal was to keep his memory alive and continue his fight against cancer. The foundation supported the creation of the John Wayne Cancer Institute, which later became a leader in early cancer detection and new treatments. Many lives have been saved thanks to the research it made possible. At the time of his death, Wayne's estate was worth $6.85 million, which is about $25 million today. Considering how successful he had been and how much he earned during his lifetime, many people were surprised his estate wasn't larger. Some thought it meant he had spent a lot or had been very generous with his money. It's also possible that not all his assets were counted. For instance, shortly before he died, Wayne sold his beloved yacht, Wild Goose, for $750,000. This yacht had been a big part of his life and was once a World War II minesweeper. Its sale added mystery to how much Wayne really left behind. Wayne had a love for real estate, and one of his most well-known properties was his home in Newport Beach, which he bought in 1965. The house looked modest from the outside but was elegant and spacious on the inside, reflecting his personality. He lived there until his death in 1979. After he died, the house was sold for $5.5 million in 1980, a large amount for that time. Before moving to Newport Beach, he lived on a 5-acre ranch in Encino. At age 58, he left the ranch for a quieter life near the water. He also owned properties in Arizona and Washington, showing not just a love for nature but also a smart investment sense. Wayne once joked that if he hadn't bought his Newport Beach house earlier, he wouldn't have been able to afford it later. When Wayne's will became public after his death, it caused a lot of controversy. One of the biggest surprises was that he left nothing to his third wife, Pilar. They had been married for over 2 decades but had separated in 1973, 6 years before his death. Although they never divorced, he chose to leave most of his estate to his 7 children from his earlier marriages. This sparked rumors and questions about what had really gone wrong in their relationship. The drama didn't stop there. In 2010, Wayne's daughter Asa sued her brother Ethan and John Wayne Enterprises over her share in the company. The will had also given each child personal items and memorabilia, but those two became sources of arguments. Family disagreements over who got what showed how emotional and complex the situation was. In 2011, something extraordinary happened for John Wayne fans. More than 700 items from his personal life and film career were auctioned off. The event took place on October 6 to 7 at the Hyatt Regency Century Plaza in Los Angeles. For over 30 years, many of these items had been kept in storage, untouched since Wayne's death. When his house was sealed in 1979, all his belongings were boxed up. The auction felt like opening a time capsule, revealing treasures from his past. There were costumes, props, awards, and even home furniture. His movie scripts showed how he worked. Some were marked with notes and folded corners, while others were kept perfectly neat. Personal items included his books, clothes, and his last driver's license. A collection of his favorite neckerchiefs sold for $1,755. Some items fetched unbelievable prices. His green beret from the Green Berets sold for $179,200, a record for a costume hat. His cowboy hat from movies like Big Jake and the Cowboys sold for $119,500. His Golden Globe for True Grit, the role that won him his only Oscar, sold for $143,400. Even everyday items like his driver's license sold for $89,500. Pants from the Alamo and shirts he wore in multiple films brought in thousands. These items helped fans feel closer to him, not just as a movie star but as a human being. Some of the most touching items included a gold-plated Winchester rifle he had gifted to a friend. It sold for $113,315 and reflected his generosity. His books on military history revealed his interests. A small collection of seashells showed his softer, quieter side. One of the most valuable items was a portrait painted by John Decker, which Wayne kept in his home. It sold for $71,700 and showed what he valued personally. The auction also featured family photos, letters, and even furniture from his house, things that gave the public a glimpse into his private life. All these items showed that behind the tough cowboy image, Wayne was also a father, a friend, and a thoughtful man. But Wayne's legacy isn't without controversy. In 1971, he gave an interview to Playboy magazine that would follow him for decades. In the interview, he made several racist and homophobic comments. He said he believed in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility, a remark that caused outrage. He also spoke negatively about Native Americans and justified the taking of their land, calling it a matter of survival. He criticized the film Midnight Cowboy as perverted and used a homophobic slur. Although those comments were decades old, they resurfaced in 2019 when someone shared them on Twitter. A screenwriter called Wayne a terrible person, and the tweet went viral. The debate reignited over whether Wayne should still be honored with buildings and institutions named after him. Some people wanted him cancelled, while others defended him, arguing that his views were a product of the time. The controversy reached John Wayne Airport, which had been named after him in 1979. By 2020, during the nationwide protests following George Floyd's murder, people demanded the airport be renamed. Orange County Democrats formally requested the change, stating that Wayne's words did not represent the county's values. Orange County had become more diverse and politically mixed since Wayne's time, and many people felt his legacy no longer fit. Wayne's son Ethan defended him, saying his father was not a racist and that critics were being unfair. As of 2025, the airport still bears his name, but the debate is ongoing. The issue even affected the University of Southern California, where Wayne once studied. In 2020, the university removed an exhibit honoring him after protests from students and alumni who said his views made the display unwelcoming. The decision sparked more arguments about whether you can separate a person's art from their personal views. Some believe Wayne's films are too important to ignore, and that it's possible to appreciate his acting while condemning his statements. Others argue that his racist remarks and the stereotypes in his films mean his work and beliefs are too closely tied together to be separated. The debate over John Wayne's legacy continues to this day, showing how deeply one man's life and career can still impact the world.